Oh, LinkedIn land. This is about take 67 so far this morning because I seem to be unable to speak clearly and looking at the camera at all this morning. So I'm fed up with it now, so I'm just going to go. If there's any more mistakes in this video, I'm afraid you're just going to have to put up with them. So this is video 10 on my GDPR top tips series, and today I'm talking about identity verification. And in between knocking the camera flying and all the other things I've done this morning, I've had a time to think about what I want to talk about. And this is making identity verification part of your normal daily business routine when you're doing trade with a customer over the telephone or via email or something of that nature. Banks, building societies, they all do it. We're all used to going through our security questions. Sky, you name it, they will all go through their security questions with you. The smaller the business gets, the less likely that is to happen. Not because the threat to your data is any less, it's just that people just don't seem to see the need for it or understand the benefits it can provide to it. So again, back to privacy notices. First paragraph of every privacy notice is, we value your privacy, we value protecting your personal data. Well, if you do that and you mean that, you're going to have some security around verifying identification of the caller whenever they're doing business with you over the phone. Again, you have to think, when's the appropriate time to do this? So you need to understand your business, which calls where you need to go through security all the time, and which calls maybe you only need to go through security at a certain point in time. Again, it's all based upon your risk profile, all the rest of it. Make sure the member of the public know if you're having two different systems, they need to understand why they have two different systems. Explain it to them, make it clear to them. Again, it's been around for years. You're going to record anybody, you need to tell them that the call is being recorded, what it's being recorded for, and what you intend to do with it. Again, the GDPR just made that even more clear. Again, top tip, if you've done a records of processing activity and your recording's not in it, you need to go back and add that one in. So again, we're recording things. Think about making it a bit more personal. The whole point of it is it's there to protect the customer. It's there for the customer's benefit, not necessarily the businesses. So if you're getting in, a computer says no, or you've created this fantastic security system that nobody can get through, you have to have a long, hard think about it. Benefits against risks, benefits against complexity for the client. Bear in mind that some of your customers could be, English might not be the #1 language, that they might have disabilities, they might have mental impairments, they might have hearing, sight, speech impairments. You've got to consider all of these and what is your methodology for using your security questions. I quite like making them a bit more personalized. If I'm talking to, say, somebody selling me stuff, what was the last item you bought from us, sir? Yeah, and how did you find it? Just little things like that. You're doing security, but it's not this whole rigmarole thing where you've just, computer says no, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? And it's so obvious the person's just going through their script and they don't really care what the answers are as long as they match up. This is an opportunity on first contact for you to make your business stand out from somebody else's and have good quality data protection principles in place at the same time. Now, again, what's the name of your first pet and all these other questions that we get, the hackers and all these games on Facebook, that's what they harvest, all that information. So if you can think about something that just makes it a little bit more difficult, a little more stand out, a little bit more unique, can only be a good thing in my opinion. Again, your privacy notice, explain why, explain how long you're going to keep it and all the rest of that. Again, so lots of privacy notices out there, just don't cover this stuff because you've done a cut and paste from somebody else's. You haven't actually looked at your own business model, or you've looked at a business model for somebody who does the same thing as you, but they don't have this in place. So again, make sure your privacy notice reflects the actual experience of the customer when you're handling their personal data. Again, if recordings are involved, make sure you've gone back and looked at my records and retention and disposal videos, because you have to think long and hard about how long you're going to hold on to these phone calls for. And the top tip for me is, it's not going to be much longer than CCTV. Again, if you're quite happy to only keep your CCTV for 30 days on a rolling cycle and then delete it, your phone calls have got to be on something fairly similar as well, unless there's another reason. If it's part of financial transactions, there's another rule or regulation other than the DPA team that comes into place to think about it. Again, one that comes from me from my health service background is that the calls into doctor surgeries, because it involves triage of care, etc., they are actually kept for quite a bit longer. Well, I won't say exactly how long because it does vary depending on the area, but they are keeping them for a much longer period of time because of the chance of something with like a negligence inquiry coming up later on is still fairly high. So find your right balance, find your right risk against reward balance. Make sure you've told the customer exactly what it's going to be. So just to recap, if you're going to record, inform both on the phone call and on the privacy notice, clearly and available, what you're going to record it for. Tell them why you're recording it, bearing in mind that the recording is for their benefit, not yours. And finally, make sure you only keep them for a reasonable period of time that is fully documented and you're controlling it. Another top tip is, wherever possible, do not record the actual financial transaction. The level of risk by recording me talking to you while I'm giving you my card details is astronomical. Opens you up to all sorts of problems later on, especially if you have some sort of insider threat or something like that. Somebody doesn't like you anymore, or they're having trouble paying their mortgage, and they know where they can harvest 100 people's credit card details. The temptation for them is going to be very, very strong. Okay, so that's all I've got today on 10. I managed to get through this one without messing up, which is better than the first 66 times this morning. Later on in the week, I'm going to put a new video up. I'm going to have a slight break from the GDPR top tips. Got another couple of subjects I want to have a talk with, still in the sort of the privacy related world. But I'll keep your eyes peeled for them, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks very much for listening.